Hi, welcome to another episode of the Institute Podcast. I'm Suzanne Wolf, and I'm joined today with our executive leader of Strength and Conditioning, Coach Sean Manuel.
Hey, everybody.
And to join us today, we have our CEO, Jesse Halberstad.
Excited to be here again.
Awesome. And we're super excited to have with us our guest today, Lonell Roberts.
Very grateful to be here.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So let's, we always talk about how Coach Manny loves to start pouncing on all our guests, even before they jump in here. Before I can put their mic on and get them going, he starts getting out some gold from them. And we're scrambling around going, Coach, not yet. Let's hit record. I want to get this. This is great. Yeah, no. So what happens? Lonell walks in and Coach Manny starts chatting.
And the podcast.
And the podcast is not turned on. Again, Coach, not yet. Not yet.
We'll have the 20-minute camera set up. You know how they do those shows? Person's walking in the building.
Oh yeah.
And they catch them as they're coming in the building, then up the stairs, and they just put it back down. It continues all the way through, and then we just roll it.
Yeah, I think Justin
bunch of B-roll.
We need to have our guest on the podcast mic'd up when?
We're going to mic them up right when they get out of the elevator.
I get it started early, huh?
That's it.
MTV deal.
Start moving.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's do this. Let's learn about Lonell. Where are we from?
From a city called Bloomington, California.
Bloomington, California.
Yes.
Playing the great sport of baseball.
Yes, sir.
And we got drafted straight out of high school
Yes, sir.
to the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Toronto Blue.
Hey.
Yes.
Hey.
How long did we play? What was the duration?
Played for 10 years.
10 years in the pros.
Sir.
Okay, I have to ask, what was it like as a high schooler being drafted to the pros? What did that feel like?
I want to know that too.
It was definitely overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it coming because I was actually a football player. I had a football scholarship to San Diego State.
Is that right?
Yes, and my high school career, I transferred schools because I was going to a private school called Aquinas.
Oh, yeah.
And back then, it wasn't. They've kind of made a name for themselves now. It wasn't the school that it was, and so the competition level wasn't great.
Okay.
And so me and a couple of friends that I grew up with kind of dominated the competition in football, and I had an uncle who gave me advice to go to a bigger school. Mm-hmm. And so I was going to transfer to Redlands High School, and so the coach got me a fake address. And I started training with them for 2 weeks.
I mean, got you a
Got you
local
moved,
address.
yeah.
They got you moved. I got it.
I guess it was
I'm
a real
with you.
address. Just wasn't my address.
Liability. Suze knows liability. Go ahead.
So we're training.
Pending.
And I was a wide receiver, and we're training. And they thought the team was family. Let them know that I lived in Bloomington. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call to the office that I was being kicked out for violating CIF.
Okay.
Yes, and it turned out the guy, the receiver the position I was going to take, his mother went to the board and let them know that I didn't live in the district.
Conveniently shared.
Because of that, I transferred to Bloomington High School, and I lost a year of eligibility. I couldn't play varsity my junior year baseball. I couldn't play varsity my senior year football. And at that time, I'd already had my this football camp that I had been invited to down in Stanford. And so I couldn't play football. So I decided
Focus 100% on baseball at that point?
I decided to play baseball my senior year. And then at that time, because I had an offer to come down to San Diego State. And in that last year, when I got drafted, I didn't want to go to school at the time. So I was like, I'm getting drafted, baseball. And I started falling in love with baseball. And that's how I kind of turned into baseball.
I can love baseball.
Yes, I can. Yes.
I can love it.
And after I finished up, I tore my MCL, and it's my meal ticket was my speed, and so rehabbing that and coming back, I lost the speed.
How'd you tear it? Were you sliding into a base? You were running, getting a ball?
Collision in the outfield. Playing. Actually, I was with the Braves at the time, and our right field. I played center field. I played center and right, but at this time I was playing center field. Right field. It was a afternoon game, and our right fielder have his sunglasses.
Oh no.
So there was a fly ball to hit the right field,
Right.
and I saw immediately he didn't see it, and so I took off, got over there, made the catch, and in the meantime, he did wind up picking it up. He turned around and came
Right into you.
charged right into my
Man.
Oh, wow.
my knee. Yes.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was about, might have been about 3 weeks into the season. So I lost the whole season.
Wow.
And one of the things I didn't want to go into free agency,
Sure.
being on the DL. So I wanted to rehab. Rehab's hard to get back so I could play, but I wound up coming back a little premature. And so that's something that's kind of hampered me to this day with my knee injury, dealing with my left knee.
It still bothers you to
Yeah,
this
it
day.
still bothers me, yes.
Yeah, no matter what, once you heard it, it is. And so at that point, you stepped away from the game.
Yeah, stepped away from the game. Just really, I wouldn't say, I don't think it's bitterness. You just kind of, you feel that you can still compete at a high level,
Sure.
but circumstances kind of take it away from you, and just kind of trying to find something else to fill that void.
Right.
And so spent some time after that dealing with a little bit of modeling, and worked did some health insurance, sold for Aflac.
Okay.
Just, yeah, yeah. Did spent 2 years with them, and actually ran into a great mentor who kind of showed me the ropes, and I had a good time. But that just wasn't. I was just kind of doing it, just trying to find something to do.
Right.
It wasn't my passion. I didn't enjoy it. I had a good time because of some of the relationships that were started throughout that experience.
Yeah.
But it was never anything that I enjoyed. Growing up, I've always had a lisp, so talking
Okay.
in front of people has never been. I've always kind of shied away from that.
It's a terrifying thing.
It's
I still feel terrified about that junk.
Period.
Yes, so that's always even till today, and it's amazing because my mother, she was in education and a school teacher, and she was great talking in front of people, and I'm like the opposite.
Like, oh, no
Stage
thanks.
fright, yes, yes. After games, interview is like, I wish I wouldn't have got those hits.
So what was the team that drafted you out of high school?
Toronto Blue Jays.
Toronto Blue
Toronto
Jays.
Blue Jays.
Right out of Bloomington?
Yes, sir.
Bloomington to
Yes, sir.
Toronto Blue Jays.
Yes.
Wow.
So you were there, but and you said you went kind of through this desert time.
Yes.
After the game, and then you were like, "Hey, I went through this desert," and then
Yes, I went through this desert time, and between my stretch of baseball, the end of my career, and where I am now, I spent maybe 6 years wanting to be a professional gambler,
Oh.
and that was a roller coaster of 6 years.
oh man, living
Yes,
life with
the
pure
ups-
chance.
Yes.
Seven on black.
Yeah.
You can get it 7 on black. Oh, it can go well.
Yes. So definitely some ups and downs,
Oof.
and it was something that I felt really was starting to. It always was, but I started recognizing how much it was starting to really have a grip on my life. It dictated a lot of things that I would do.
Yeah.
Even dating. Couldn't make plans for Saturday because if I lost money Wednesday, Thursday, I was coming up with an excuse why I couldn't make plans for Saturday.
Wow.
So that was just in my whole life, just even with friends, make plans to do something and sometimes get so involved in gambling. If I lost money, it really dictated how I felt about that week. So it had a real hold on me.
I respect your vulnerability. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I learned a lot, though, and I'm a firm believer. I tell everyone I'm a firm believer. Everything happens for a reason, and going through that stretch, definitely, I think I chased the highs of trying to win. I don't even know exactly what it was, but the highs of trying to, I guess, make money. And it wasn't even really about the money at times. It's the high.
Yeah.
The adrenaline.
The adrenaline,
Sure.
and needing the action, and chasing something that I thought was going to bring me happiness, and it brought me a lot of dark nights.
Oh, big time.
You know, yeah.
We talked about what do you call desert times?
Yeah,
But
time in the desert.
That transition and how, as an athlete on that go lifestyle, very organized. Here's where you need to be. This is what you need to do. And then as time goes on, you don't have maybe the sport anymore. You move on from it. How are you taking those habits that have been created, even though you don't know how to identify them, and then it gets applied to something, right? Whether you like it or not, right? And it's just some people hit the jackpot with it. It's like, oh, I took my athletic grind and that mindset, and I applied it to this, and it went great. Or I applied it to that, and it ends up being one of the best learning experiences, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Right.
I definitely a great learning experience. One thing that's really helped me with, I've always been a very open-minded person, but it's also allowed me to really understand the struggles people go through.
Sure.
Right.
You know, and I was someone that a lot of people that I knew on the outside, they thought everything was great. And inside, you know, it was the opposite.
Oh man, shambles! I know.
Storm.
That's
Storm
it.
brewing inside.
I always tell you, don't let the external fool you.
Right.
It's shaky waters underneath.
Right.
Man.
Right. And,
Yeah, sorry. So you mentioned something that I thought was really intriguing. You mentioned something about coming back prematurely. What could you share with our listeners about the importance of recovering fully before returning to play?
You know, one of the things I was given advice that if you go into into the off season as a free agent with an injury, it's going to be a lot difficult to get signed the following year. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to get back on the field and show them that I was healthy before. And that's what drove me to get back a little bit early. But, you know, medicine is a lot better today than
Sure.
it was back when I played.
Absolutely.
And so, but I definitely, you know, one thing when you're dealing with an injury, take it serious and do everything that, if you're dealing with someone who knows what you need to do, follow it to the end. You know, a lot of times, you know, you start thinking you feel better and you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back here and push it.
Right.
And it becomes a setback.
Sure.
And that kind of set me back. Because, you know, just that drive, that drive was good to get there, but I needed to complete getting health completely 100%.
And you just hit a really good point, what you just talked about too, Sue. The competitive nature of sports. So the competitive nature of people. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a highly competitive person. Right. I don't want to feel like I'm out of it or someone else is getting better than me and I can't do something about it, so on and so forth. Now you put someone's livelihood on top of that or their ability to compete in college, whatever it is, right? The pressure you can feel. You talk about the pressure you can feel to come back, not to be out. Like what you just said, hey, if I'm a free agent and I'm hurt, what's going to happen to me?
Right.
Even the desire, like say for me, was to mask my injuries. I compensated and worked around it, but it left me in an even more vulnerable position to get hurt even worse. And it would keep happening. But in my mind, I was like, no, I just got to get back.
Right.
But it was making it worse.
Right.
It's a story you tell yourself, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And whether it's real or perceived, right? That's the story you tell yourself, and that becomes that's your reality.
And
right?
then losing sight of really what really is the most beneficial versus what's unbeneficial.
Right.
Right. And then making the choice, because all of us say, hey, I'll do the most beneficial thing. But when you're put in a situation without someone talking to you, educating you, helping you with perspective, to grab the bigger perspective, you're going to do in the moment, if you're not controlled by a higher principle, whatever you think is going to help you survive and get through that level of insecurity or fear that you feel and get back to a position where you can compete. Right.
That's incredible.
You touched on something. You said that fear. I think that fear of the unknown, that hits a lot of people. And to think, if I'm not healthy at the end of the season, what's going to happen? And just, even to today, people deal with that fear of the unknown can kind of cripple some people.
That's really good. Oh, fear of the unknown cripples me. Even with the pandemic and all the different things that go on, it comes up again, it gets exposed. But coming out of playing professional sports, it wasn't hard to let go because the sport was so pleasant, and it meant I had the best deal. I had a surgery every year. I was like, man, what am I doing?
Right.
It was the fear of going, what's out there for me? Am I ever going to be somebody again? Because this means I was somebody.
Self-talk.
My self-esteem was caught up in what I was able to do, not necessarily who I was becoming, which is always a shaky lifestyle. Right. It's a mistaken identity because it's not reality, right?
Absolutely.
When you identify yourself based on what you can do, not who you are as a person.
Right.
Because really the quality of your relationships always depends on who you are as a person, right?
Absolutely.
It's why even as I played, not just played, but even coming through, I could have such a disregard for people, right? And even in terms of relationship, that I can minimize people to objects or means to an end. Because I go, hey, at the end of the day, my identity is it's not based on my character. Mm-hmm. People have given me a pass.
Right.
I can play and I can do these things really well. So people are like, hey, you do what you want, man.
Right.
I don't care if you're a good person or not. If you can catch the ball and get the first down in this situation, you're off the hook with this thing. We'll get you through with the grades. Right. And we'll just get on to the next thing. It's okay. But what you realize when you get to the end of it is the character was the only thing that could have protected you on your way in this transition out of pro sports or whatever you're doing, no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. The transition is inevitable.
Right.
Your ability to process it is dealing with the unknown is dependent on your character, who you are as a person, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I know when you say that, I just go, yeah, that was the hardest part coming out. Am I going to be somebody and having to deal with all the real character issues I hadn't dealt with on the front end?
Right.
And having to put into practice, go, oh, this is the most important thing. I get back to it.
That's absolutely.
I'm getting flashbacks right now on the whole the journey and the process. I wish someone said that to me sophomore year of college.
Well, me
that
too.
That would have changed some lives here. And to stick on this, you already brought up one of our cross-offs here, the attributes that you were known for in playing the game. So when you were healthy, you said you were a speedster, right?
Correct.
That was your deal. Also, you were a switch hitter from what I hear too.
That's correct.
You
That's
both
correct.
both?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. I was right-handed coming out of high school. After my second year, they asked me to start switch hitting. So I started switch hitting when I was 20, I believe it was.
Wow.
You started switch hitting at 20?
Yes.
It's a little late in the process.
Yes.
You got to be pretty gifted. You got to be pretty gifted, man, to start at 20 and be able to do it.
Who mentored you through that? Where were you to attribute that success to? Was it the programs at the higher levels? Was it a specific person?
It was kind of a shaky ordeal, being in the minor leagues. They a lot of times the minor leagues can be a little misinterpreted of what you think it is. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think that the minor leagues you get all the top help,
Resources.
top resources,
Sure.
and they have them there, but at the same time, it's really independent on who the individual is. So I'm talking about hitting instructors. We'd have multitude of hitting instructors in the organization. So say if we have like eight or nine, you might have one or two that are really doing their job, and the other ones, they will do their job, and they're a lot more beneficial to people who really, really have grown up hitting and know all the verbiage of hitting and what everything means, so they can relate with them. They're not really good with people trying to break anybody down and really explain to them and work with. They're not trying to retool anybody.
Foundational development.
Right.
We're not good at foundational development.
Exactly. And so what happens with the minor leagues, a lot of it becomes an opportunity, if you have the skill set, to make it. And then I became a prospect. And when you become a prospect, then they'll start throwing some resources at you.
Okay.
But then they don't keep tabs of the resources. I work with like 5 different hitting instructors telling me 5 different things.
I was going to say, were they telling you the same thing or all 5 different
One
things? Okay.
is, hit the ball on the ground, use your speed to get on. Another one is, you're too strong for that. You can hit doubles and triples in the gaps. This is the swing you need. And so as an organization, Toronto Blue Jays, being on the same page, they've got hitting instructors roaming around telling me different things.
I bet that can be
which
highly
is
confusing.
like football, a quarterback having different
Quarterback coach.
Quarterback
coaches.
coaches.
Yeah.
Wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Just
And
doesn't happen.
Yeah. So exactly.
Calling different plays.
Yeah, not in the pros. These guys don't talk to my guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Well, you touched on something again, and I think it's really important to talk about more is share with us a little bit on how has the development of movement patterns increased in importance within the sport of baseball?
I think it's really important. The one thing I do realize is a lot of parents and a lot of people in general aren't familiar with it. And so it's new to them. And so what they're familiar with is if I bring someone here to learn how to hit, I want to see balls being thrown to him and him taking swings. And not realizing you're dealing with muscle memory and nothing's going to change under those conditions. And a lot of times you're asking kids to swing a bat a certain way, but they don't even know how to move their body in that way
and that's huge.
To accomplish it.
Bingo.
Yes. And so the movement patterns are very important to me. I firmly believe that understanding movement patterns and understanding the swing, the bat path, rather than just swinging the bat, having an idea of what you're doing. The more you understand about the swing, the easier it is going to be for you to learn to swing. And along with the movement patterns, there's a lot of talking, which a lot of times kids or parents aren't interested in because they want to see the action. And I always tell my parents, once we get through this, there'll be plenty of action. And but there'll be efficient action. And so I'm very, the movement pattern is something that when once I got introduced to becoming a hitting instructor, I was groomed a certain way. And then I just started re-educating myself, and I realized I wanted to give more to the kids.
Sure.
And I've been around hitting instructors where hitting lessons are 30 minutes, and it's pretty much as long as if I let this kid swing enough and wear himself out, he's going to go home tired. His parents are going to think I did a good job. And when I discovered my passion working with kids, it meant so much more for me to make sure what it was I was trying to pass on to this kid, that they learned it, than it did the money that I was making. Sure. Obviously, I was doing it full time, so obviously I needed to pay the bills.
Sure.
But, I could have a kid in there for a 30-minute lesson and not have someone till another half hour after that. So I have half hour space. I'll spend an hour with that kid because, my passion was making sure they walked out of here with the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, and not that, 30 minutes, the time is up. Now I'll have to do exactly. Now I'll have to do that to keep on schedule if I have someone right after them. But whenever I have time, my mindset was always, what are you going to walk away with? Yes.
Proper development.
Yes.
We hear Coach Manny quite a bit, and just I can see the integration on being able to speak the movement patterns and understanding what that is and how important that is from a performance standpoint and how that translates to skills, right? So you share a little bit more about that, just that conversation.
Absolutely. Now, you just touched on something and said something a minute ago that was phenomenal. I'm going to come back to it because you said, hey, even when I got to this point, I had a certain way that I did things and understood things, and you were accomplished. You got a lot done. And you still went back and reevaluated and said, hey, where do I need to change this now in terms of knowledge that I'm taking in currently to keep improving this, because everyone's not the same, right?
Right.
And so you went back to, hey, how does this person move? And you kind of just broke it back down. I want to know what kind of took you there, because usually when people are successful at something, they go, hey, I'm successful at this, and this is how I'm going. It worked for me, and this is what I'm coaching. It's the cookie cutter now. I'm staying this way. I don't hear a lot of that in terms of, hey, I went back and went, hey, I need to rethink what I'm doing.
Right.
And re-educate. You were phenomenal at what you did. You go, but I'm still going to go back and
Continuous learning.
And continuously learn and go, and that helps me understand even too some of the philosophy and things you shared with me earlier, what it was grounded in, because I was wondering what landed you there, but it's phenomenal. When you say about the movement patterns, this is the craziest thing. Once you think about things from a movement standpoint, right? A kid goes out to go play baseball. He goes out to go play soccer, right? Well, the soccer's a skill, but running's a skill too. So
I can't run to save my life.
So you think about kicking also skill, but stopping is a skill. It's a series of movements that you got to coordinate, right? Intermuscular coordination, series of movements you put together in order. Now there's an efficient way to do it. There's an efficient way to move the body that follow principles, right? Laws of biomechanics that no matter what, when you move your body that way, you're more efficient at doing it. Okay. Well, someone goes out to go play soccer, but they never learn how to run. We don't address them running. Someone goes out to play sports, but we never address their mechanical movement pattern. Can you squat? Can you hip hinge? Can you retract your scap? All these different things that build a foundational piece for you to create any movement off of. We haven't even addressed that or done that. We just go, hey, go out and start learning the skill. And I get it. People pick it up and do it. When I looked at things, when I played, when you asked me, about movement patterns, my biggest injuries came because of movement deficiencies. All right, structural imbalances that I had kept creating injury for me over and over again. I was very frustrated by it. I'll never forget sitting on a water bucket going to the playoffs last year and hey, you playing this week? And be like, yeah, once the swelling goes down my knees, I'm going to play kind of deal. And having to pass and sitting there going, how long am I going to do this?
Right, wow.
But no one could explain to me why that was. And they were faulty movement patterns, things that could have been corrected at an earlier age had they been addressed.
Yeah, and you think about some, especially in the youth, our youth community right now, and something as elementary as running and stopping, and parents understanding about running and stopping, you do it, right? And not having that guidance in an environment to share with you to say there actually is a proper way to run and stop, and it's not just hitting the wall to stop, it's actually breaking it down, right? I didn't know that. I don't know. I probably did my son quite more a disservice of just, why are you running like that? You're so just run, right? Right? How many parents are there, out there that aren't educated on that?
Well, I think it touches on the whole, you don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
I love that saying.
Yeah,
I really
love
do.
it too, and it's so true. I grew up and I was very fast, but I had no form running. I had no form.
Just gifted.
Yes, head back and arms swaying to the side.
But you look
People
good.
would always talk about, yes.
You look good running.
There
I
we
went
go.
to a Stanford football camp, and they were teaching form running. And friends would talk about the way I run, and I got tired of being talked about, even though I'd beat them all running. But I got tired of how, everyone would, mimic how I'd run. And I remember being in high school, I'd wear gold chain, I had 2 gold chains. And they were like, well, you know why he has the gold chain? It's to keep his head down because he's going to have it way back like this when he's running. And so, I was at a Stanford football camp, and they were teaching form running, and that was something I was so interested in. I picked it up, and I basically really kind of taught myself how to run.
That's amazing.
And just with that form, I saw huge results, and I just built on it, and it just evolved.
That's one of the biggest things too. When you start with pattern work, it's foundational. That's what people don't understand. Pattern work is foundational work. The most important part of if you went and told a contractor you got to build the house, what they tell you the most important thing to build is?
The foundation.
Foundation.
Right.
Everything is built off that foundation. So when it comes off that foundation, if it's faulty, you're vulnerable.
Right.
You're going to pay more on the back end than you would if you just paid for it to get done right on the front end, kind of deal. And it's what you said. People only know what they know. That's one of the biggest reasons, even us talking and
Right.
instant human performance and some of the platforms and things that we're doing is going, hey, yeah, it's working to educate the best we can and communicate and talk and kind of put that out there about movement and building baseline movements that lead to a greater level of efficiency. But this is the other thing too. Movement patterns lead to a better movement economy. It means you don't have to spend as much energy to do the same type of work, so you pick up on your endurance kind of deal, as well as diminish injury. So those are the kind of things that, as people understand it and they learn it, which is not popular, because it takes a certain level of understanding. And like you said, I had to educate myself.
Right.
You got to sit down and really want to understand that stuff because you understand it's for the benefit of the athlete long term, and that's why I'm doing it, right? And then you grow from there.
Some of the biggest changes probably go back to the resources, though, too.
Right.
You got to have that Stanford camp ended up being a pivotal point and a resource to you at that point to cause that correction. So when we're saying you only know what you know, yes, there's few resources today that influence and push these methods and philosophies. So to look at to say, hey, how many parents maybe understand this? None. And the reason probably is because there's not enough resources that are out there to provide a result for you to understand or grasp an understanding and want to know more about it, which makes even a deeper appreciation for what we do, just from understanding and saying that out loud, because I'm going back and thinking I'm coming from the same neck of the woods as you, maybe a difference of 15 miles or so. But unless you're blessed with an opportunity to be around individuals that are seeking that, and maybe it is chasing winning or whatever it is, but you're looking for these competitive edges. And now the competitive edges are way different, right? No longer is it just going to, well, this, like how you're saying, there's some coaches you can go to, we're just going to get reps, and we're going to work hard, and you're going to be tired. Are you chasing getting him better at batting or getting him tired to go home? Right? And that's kind of the difference that you're bringing to the table, which makes a huge difference in is paying attention to those things and delivering a foundation, right? That goes back to, so before, it's unlikely to come across every single instructor that has this same level and integrity in their programs, right? With anything.
Right. Absolutely.
So before the world can even get caught up to that, you're already on a whole nother planet when you're teaching them movement. Hey, you want to get great at batting? Put the bat down.
Right.
What?
Right.
That's when I know someone's solid.
Yes.
Is that the
Put the
biggest
bat away.
challenge? Put the bat right
Put
out
the
of
ball
gate.
down.
Yes.
Ready for
Work
the
on this
best
first.
batting instruction of your life?
Right.
Leave your bat at home.
Yeah.
I'll see you in 20 minutes.
Yes.
And not too long ago, maybe that would be laughed at, mockery. Like, how are you? He's got to get multiple reps. He needs to be in as many games as. Let's put him in 18 games this weekend with 3 teams.
Exactly.
And they're not getting after the result. Is that the biggest hump that you're coming over, or the biggest obstacle that you come across is educating the consumer right first, so they really get it?
Exactly.
How do you message them?
Yes.
During that time. During that time in the desert, when they only know what they know and they're watching going, what you're doing has got to be completely wrong, even though I know nothing about what you're doing intuitively. I know. What do you message during that time? Seriously, keep them interested.
I'm a firm believer of, I feel people do better when they can learn to manage their expectations. And so I try to start off letting them know where we're at and find out what they want from their kid. If you're just looking for your kid to play Little League this year and he's not going to play baseball again until next year, and all you want him to do is just hit a baseball, then, we can do something. Then the whole movement pattern is not going to be for him, because it's a process.
Right.
And, so many people.
Setting the expectations.
Yes. So many people want that instant gratification. And so because it's a process, they don't have the patience to wait, for this to evolve. They want it now. And if that's their mindset, then we'll just throw balls to your kid, and the more he swings, he'll get a little bit better.
Yeah.
But he'll never maximize his potential. But now if you have a different level of what you're looking to achieve, if you're in this for the long term, this is, I want to prepare you for this. This is my style of teaching, and not a lot of instructors do this. So I want to prepare you for it.
Wow.
Because I've had, before going that route, I would have parents tell me, but you didn't pitch to them.
Right.
So you're saying, hey, the question becomes, hey, do you want to get better or do you want to maximize?
Right.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
You can get better, but you'll never maximize.
You'll never maximize.
What's your ultimate aim? Do you want your son to get better?
Right.
Or do you want him to maximize?
Right.
Well, there's a huge gap there. That's really an awesome point.
So how do you explain the difference to the consumer, to the parents, the difference between maximizing and getting better? Because you can say, do you want them to get better, or do you want them to maximize? As a parent, I may not know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean? How do you share that with them on what the difference between maximize and get better? What's the difference?
Well, I'll let them know that maximizing is going to take commitment and effort. And we can get better with a little commitment. And letting them know that there's a process and a journey to maximize. It doesn't happen overnight. And if you're looking for something that's going to happen overnight, this isn't for you.
Right.
Now we can get a little bit better, but to maximize, to reach
Your
his full
opportunities.
potential, there's a path for that. And and I leave it for the parent to tell me, what path you want. Now naturally, I think they feel obligated to tell me they want
Oh, I want to maximize.
Exactly.
Here, Johnny, go ahead. Go to sleep.
It's kind of like
You just finished the lesson, go to sleep.
The
Don't
common
practice.
problem in all sports, especially at the youth level, you see, maybe at all levels. Are we getting a workout? Or are we on a training program? Right? We're saying right now.
Right.
Is it the quick fix? Is it the Band-Aid? Or are we really getting after the foundation?
Exactly.
We're worried about the supplement that you get from the nutrition store, but we don't even eat breakfast. Right?
Exactly.
It's like
Great
those
point.
types of like, isn't that kind of the
Great
quick
point.
fix? Is like, what's the convenient way? What's the fast way
Yes.
that I can get to success? And probably you can attach that to just about every industry.
Yes.
Unfortunate. So when we're talking to just even other entrepreneurs and where we're at in our space, is that even as a service, we're in this educate to sell constantly. And just when you think you got it, something changes again every 5 years or so. Something drastic happens in the market. And now where I think we're at is now you're getting higher level resources and those that are not just saying, hey, I done it and hey, I played pro. You have an emotional attachment to them, to maximizing, right? I have the experience of working with multiple professional athletes and whatnot. Now you're bringing that resource down. I think it's something necessarily maybe that's not to get too emotionally caught up into it, say, oh, no one gets it or they don't value it. You don't know. You don't know that you have the access to something like this. So we're in this whole, we have to provide the result to get it, right? And that's what attracted to getting on this even today and being able to see it with the partner's son, right, is when you can talk about something and the importance of, okay, so hold on, this movement efficiency is more important than just taking hacks on the tee, huh? Really? Says who? Well, says this switch hitting 11-year-old who's crushing it playing USA baseball. There's a result to it, so it's okay. So is it that they don't know? You need to be shown, right? Is it just someone leading by example to say, okay, there's the new way, and then we get on to it? And then there's the glam or the glitz that pops up out of nowhere when something new comes up again. It's like, oh, wait, we got to go this way. Hold on.
Right.
We're always in this fight to educate. So are we in the education market, Coach, or are we in sports performance? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be both.
Yeah, it winds up being both.
It ends up being both. And you just said it too. Sometimes I think what you can do is you can see the exception, but it's not the rule.
Right.
And that is, one guy's doing it a certain way. He's really talented. And he moves on, he goes on, and everyone goes, hey, if you do it that way, you can't. But no one wants to realize that not everybody's that guy.
Right.
You know, like I watched Tony Gonzalez. I played with Tony Gonzalez. Not everybody was that guy. He was 0%. Zeros, 15 zeros and then a 1. And then you go, I can't, not going to be able to do what that guy does. Because it's just not the same guy. I think even with the younger, who are the sources of expertise that people feel comfortable going to? Usually people that you're familiar with.
Right.
Or what you're watching. All right? And if that's what's available to you, that's your knowledge source in a lot of ways. So anyway, I think.
And you just nailed another thing. That's why I never get so caught up into this whole youth sports market when it comes to delivering product and competing with everyone.
Right.
They're so misguided or lack of education that's out there for millions of people. And we're over here trying to focus on how do we deliver a product to 100. You know what I mean? And those number 10 to start the example. So instead of being so caught up into that, because it is all over the place, is just simplifying it, right? And what's the best product? Who is the best resources? How do we bring them to a place that's accessible to start that wave, the word of mouth? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Oh, and they're great people. Cherry on top.
Yes, absolutely.
And now you said something earlier that I was really... it caught me, and you were talking about, hey, when you were out coaching the young athletes, right, and they were out, and some of the parents' reaction, ump was making bad calls, and all of a sudden, as the ump's making bad calls, you shared some things. Can you go back over that again? I thought that was one of the more pivotal things, even in terms of the development of young athletes.
Sure, and that started when I was playing ball. I wasn't a hothead, but I was one who, if you made a bad call, I let you know, and would argue with umpires. And one day, something hit me while I was laying down, and I just thought about it. I was like, you know what? The umpire's not making this call based on who I am. He's calling what he sees. Don't take it personal. And so that's something I've just kind of tried to put into my own life. And so growing up, being on the freeway, get cut off, instead of laying on the horn, cussing them out. Hey,
Sure.
it's not personal. You don't know who I am. You know, I'm just glad you didn't hit me. And so that's something I've taken into my personality and just the way I've decided to go about life. And so when I started coaching, we'd have umpires, and they're out there doing their job. Sometimes we have one umpire, sometimes we have two. I talk about managing my expectations. When I came to the ballpark, I didn't expect great umpires. So I already know we're going to have some bad calls, but it's going to go both ways. Now, sometimes you can get into a game where all the bad calls are going to probably go against you if you're riding the umpire and he's not professional, because there are some unprofessional umpires that will, okay, you wanted to call me names? I'll give you something to call me names.
I'm human too.
Yeah.
You hurt my feelings.
Right. So now dad in the stands who's yelling at him, now you're making it harder on your son because, he's about to really make some bad calls. But so one of the things I would share with my parents, I had some parents who would they weren't afraid to let umpires know how they felt about certain calls.
And that's my mom.
And, one of the parents that brought up to me is, how come you don't argue a lot? I said, if it's about rules, I'll go out there and I'll have a word with the umpire. But if it's based on what he saw, he's not going to change the call. He called what he saw. And I'm more important. I'm more interested in, now I have a chance for my kids to deal with adversity than get on the umpire about, trying to make things what you might seem as fair for your kids, And so I'm a firm believer that you rob the kids away from learning how to deal with adversity if you think every call has to be
huge point
in their favor.
Yeah.
Your way.
And I think it also, you shared a little bit about that as far as the stress level that creates. If you are thinking that it was personal, it was an attack on me, that stress and anxiety that it places on you, it just deteriorates your soul, right? But if you come from it from a different perspective, and I know from a business standpoint, and I'm sure some other folks I know, Ron and Control are quite familiar with it, but there's a thing called assuming innocence, right? When you're approaching instances where someone did something that perhaps wasn't the best, if you take it a paradigm of assuming innocence, well, it's going to have a completely different effect on your body and your mental state and your ability to move forward and not,
physiology,
be so caught up in that. So,
Right, and hold on to
and it believe me, it is a learned skill. Right? Ooh, let me tell you, there's some time.
That's it. That's what I mean by
I don't know what he was
physiology.
dealing with.
Physiology.
I know what they're dealing with. Okay, go to zero.
Every weekday.
Every day.
Yeah.
0 to 100. But yeah, I think that's huge, and just helping those the kids that you're working with start to build that learned characteristic about assuming innocence and thinking differently, approaching adversity.
Yes, absolutely. I felt, when I was coaching kids, obviously all these kids aren't going to go on to play college or get drafted. But I feel that there's a lot of life lessons that are learned on the field.
Yeah.
And as a coach, not only was it my job to teach them how to play the game, but also to become better kids as they grow up and learn how to deal with the real world. Because the real world is not always going to be fair.
And the thing you talked about, even to the point, is, man, teaching the kids to learn how to take responsibility for the giving of their existence in the moment while they're having to deal with it.
Right.
That hey, what's going to happen here is your life's going to be a culmination of the choices you make at this point.
Right.
People aren't going to determine that. They just give you an experience.
Right.
What you do with that experience is going to either build or tear down your life.
Exactly.
What's hard, and the big thing that you really just said was, you take a parent, right? And I'm the same way. Sometimes in my perspective, I think I'm protecting my kid, so I'm trying to remove these obstacles and go, hey, get out of his way. You're impeding my kid.
Lawnmower parent. That's
Yeah.
what we call it.
Oh, man. Yeah. It's the guy. In your mind, you're like, I'm helping my kid.
Right.
I struggle with it, right? The reality is, helping your kid is the biggest thing you could do is learn how to take responsibility, right?
Right.
I'm reading this book, Love and Logic, right? And he's going, you have to equip your kids. The biggest thing you do is help them take responsibility.
Right.
And they're doing all these, in psychology, they're doing all this, these studies, right? And all these existentialists are talking about hey, at the end of the day, the biggest thing that creates mental unrest and creates mental, the lack of mental health is people's inability to take responsibility. And they're looking at it more and more, right? And then we look at society and you go, hey, we're teaching our kids more and more how to take responsibility that gives them mental health, that gives them proper perspective, that gives them the tools that allow them to problem solve and equip them to grow beyond the moment, right? That nothing outside of you is going to take your talent away from you. Or are we debilitating with, hey, you need to give Johnny, it's the me first movement, it's the my feelings matter the most movement. Hey, you need to give it to him because I fought to have it, now he needs to have it, and give it to him.
Right.
And how many of those parents really have taken their children's ability away to have a sense of or that critical thinking ability, right? Because that lawnmower parents or the helicopter parents are just, these kids are, do it now, my trophy, he needs something. But
That was what they call them, helicopter, that's it.
right, they lose the ability to develop that critical thinking that is so necessary as an adult.
You're so spot on with that. With a lot of the kids that I work with, they don't have the skills to figure things out. Parents are so accustomed to doing everything for them. And so even when it comes to certain drills, naturally, repetition and having to repeat myself, that's part of, what goes in, part of the territory. But there's some that are just, you can tell their minds just kind of, mom usually does this for me. Dad usually does this for me. And that's where that's where they're stuck on. And it's like, there's no adjustment. There's nothing, we do something 10 times, they're going to do it exact same way. They're not going to make no adjustments, no change.
I heard one coach shared with us, we were at a camp, this was a while ago, and it stuck with me because in the auditorium before they went out for the camp, he said, parents, he was talking to us, he's like, if there's 2 things I can ask you to teach your child growing up, for college, for anything else, for life, teach them how to make a bed, do your laundry, and teach them how to cook. Even if it's just eggs in the morning. Just teach them those 2 skills, and they will be great going off to college. And that just stuck with me because I thought, wow, Tisa, cook and clean. Well, I got one of those. I taught him how to do one of those. Can't help him with cooking. But I thought that was so profound to say it's something that small, but foundational. Back to your foundational, right?
It's like enabling them with tools, though, for self-efficiency, right?
Yes.
To do
absolutely.
that, get that culture shock. I remember how tough it was being a Southern California kid, and I'm sure you've seen some different places playing ball too, and going from Southern California to Sioux Falls, South Dakota in the middle of the winter, 2 different worlds. And I seen that struggle, and I was the JUCO transfer, so I was much older than the incoming freshman, but seeing how taking me back to that was a huge problem in the dorms was the inability your mom ain't washing her clothes. Hey, so-and-so's room stinks and this and that. Yeah, they've been pampered their whole lives. The first time you're away from mom and dad, you're out of the nest, right? Those are completely other factors. Not that your classes are hard and whatnot. You're in this different mental state of failure. I don't know, right?
Yes.
How crazy that is. But that takes me back to something I want to put down in a note to make sure that even as a business that we're on top of that too is as we're enabling athletes with resources, how to make sure that we're not disabling futures or eliminating the critical thinking. Because I think there's a difference between equipping you in an environment where you have abundance of resources, but are we still able to factor in some scenarios and have them develop grit, right? Yeah. Some form of grit and some want in the development. That's why I love the psychology aspect and the mindset part and how crucial it is, because without it, it may be reverse and working against us. You're so used to being pampered. Hey, got the massage therapist here. You have this, you have that, right? And then you just said it in the beginning of this. You think, I don't know what they think going to the pros or what that ascension looks like. But some of the resources that we create, even what we do with our performance centers, may be 10 times better than their next step. Sometimes the collegiate level doesn't have the same amount of resources around, and you know what I mean? Being able to really focus on that's tough. For sure not the high schools. That was a problem in the past in developing facilities. We would create these one-stop shop centers. the kids welcome from all over the place, right? They would come through, they would have this phenomenal prep year for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then if they went back to their local public high school, it turned into a problem. Like, whoa, hold on a second. I just went from having everything, you know what I mean, to nothing. So how do we tackle and approach this world of making sure that even though we are enabling them with the better movement instruction and the this and the whatever it is, the sports nutrition, the training, the recovery, all these things that build up the human being, that we don't forget about developing the critical thinking. It doesn't get left behind.
Yeah.
You know what I appreciate about what you said about with that, Jesse, is, you know, we're giving them these resources, and you know, we talk also about social graces and being able to translate that to their coaches going forward. You know, how to effectively communicate to my coach that this is what I know and what I've learned. This is what I need. You know, to communicate their needs and articulate in a way that they don't seem arrogant. They do seem still respectful to say, you know, I know there's something missing, without being a jerk, right? Right? You know, you see that, right? But social grace is how important is that? You know, you're there all the time, grinding.
It's a hard one.
And then you sit down at a dinner table now with a recruiter or a coach that you're ready to have a conversation with, and I'm grabbing my steak and I'm ripping it across. Oh my, you know, that's my panic. That's where my heart goes. Oh my God, please, oh my God. You know, respect.
Get a grip.
Get yourself together. What are you doing? I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, even what you're talking about, at the end of the day, and I say this over and over again, what's the ultimate aim? Even we have resources, right, we're giving to kids. No matter what, because of the way that my life has gone, right, that my biggest failures have come because of a lack of character, not a lack of talent. Mm-hmm. And looking at it going, hey, the biggest thing that's going to cause the issue isn't whether resources are there or not, right? It's your ability to maximize the resource. Right. Do you have the faculty to be able to make the most out of the opportunity? Well, that depends on your ability, how grateful you can be. You know, do you have a gratitude? Do you understand what's being given you?
Attitude of gratitude.
Attitude of gratitude. Do you have that? Like, this isn't given to everybody, and you understand what you're being given, and from that, it moves you, right, to give your best, because you understand, it's by grace I've been given this.
Right.
I walked into this because my parents took care of me. This thing happened to me. It wasn't anything I did. I was born, and I just happened to these circumstances. I'm being given these resources that's been provided for me, right?
Right.
Do I have a gratefulness, or it's always been given to me and it's just expected?
Right.
Kind of deal. When you look at it, a lot of times when I think about people being able to maximize, and I say it over and over again, the character becomes the greatest tool that you have to maximize. Mm-hmm. And that's always determined by the level of discipline that you're able to adhere to or grow in your life. When I say discipline, everyone says, hey, you need to have discipline. But really it's discipline, helping people understand what that means. Right. Hey, are you willing to sacrifice in the pursuit of your own excellence? Like, that means you got to let things go. You're going to have to order your life in a way that allows you to make the most. Well, okay, with the video games and not eating and this and the way that you're living right here, is that really going to lead you where you want to go? Is that making the most out of the opportunity or not? Okay, let's look at your schedule. What'd you do at 6 a.m.? This, and we're going to look at every minute of your day, and is every minute of your day pointed at, well, that's obsessive compulsive, man. You're like out of control here. And I go,
1%.
We just said maximize. That means I'm going to take all the hours of your day. I'm going to take all the hours of your day. And I'm going to make the most out of them. Okay, what does that look like then? Because practically, I could ask somebody, did you make the most of it? Yeah, man, I worked there for like 2 hours. You were on Instagram for another 3. Video games for another 4.
I worked out
so
for
you
2
gave
hours.
3 over here, and you got 7 over. What'd you do with the rest of it?
Were you watching me yesterday, Coach Manny?
I'm just telling you. So
calling me out.
One of the most humbling things is when you take somebody's schedule and go, hey, let's look at it from top to bottom and look at how you ordered your day. Right. Let's look at it over the course of 2 weeks. Okay, is this maximized? Not to judge you, but how do we help you capitalize and maximize and make the most of it? Okay, let's do this. Dedication to the truth of the process. It's not always going to go the way you want it, right?
Right.
It didn't go that way. The ump didn't make the call I wanted. You know, beat up the ref. That's what we're going to do. Sometimes it just don't go your way. Right. Sometimes you get cut. Right. I know I did.
Right.
It just didn't go my way. You go, because you guys are terrible coaches. You don't know what you do. You go, nah, dude, you just got cut. Maybe you just weren't good enough. Maybe this thing is you had to deal with the truth of the process here.
Yeah.
What are you going to do at this point?
let's do a quick roundtable because I'm really interested. When you think, and I want to throw this out there, when you think about attitude of gratitude, roundtable, one piece of advice, Jess, attitude of gratitude. What can some of our youth do to help develop an attitude of gratitude?
Wow. That's a tough question because now I'm thinking of who's in the control of the youth athlete at that point. It's not even necessarily just the child. It's their primary, their educator, and their parent, right?
So
If we're asking the same question, if I'm taking this in the
I'm
same
glad she
way.
hit you first, dog.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah, because that's
glad
a
you
tough
got it
question.
first, dude.
You got to give me another one because I got a curveball factor that. Give me another one.
Let me give you an example. I think this might help. One of the things that I learned in helping to develop an attitude of gratitude is daily affirmations. You write down every
Yes.
morning 3 things that you're grateful for. Whether it was the day before, the night before, what are you grateful for this morning? Even if it's just 3 things. I'm grateful that I woke up. I'm grateful that I have a loving family. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have a job. And then you put that away. And over a period of time, you start to develop, and that's, again, from a psychology standpoint, it just helps from the mental standpoint to develop an attitude of gratitude. I'm grateful for the opportunities. I'm going to maximize what I'm going to do. So
To keep it simple, then I would piggyback right off what you're saying, and I think it comes down to reflection, and being able to reflect on your habits, your day, your schedule. Which you got me. I got a note for our next podcast here. Okay, but
I love it.
The reflection, self accountability. I'm really identifying and understanding thyself, where you're at, what are your goals, what are you doing towards those things, and how you're saying in the form of all of this is document it so it doesn't stay trapped up here, so you can see it, right, and then make an action pivot or take action.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jess.
That kind of over.
My biggest, absolutely. No, right on. My biggest thing is, what have you been given? So the question always is when I'm talking with different, even my kids, and it's, no, you never give, you did this and that. Okay, wait. What have you been given? Athletes in college, hey, we're here at UNLV. We don't have anything. We don't have, wait. What have you been given? And what are you doing with what you have been given?
Yep.
Those are the biggest things. Are you grateful for what you have been given? And then this is the other thing. What have you done with what you have been given?
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Lonell, I'm bringing it. I saved you for last, so let you thinking.
Okay. So, I'm almost pretty much like piggybacking off what you said about writing down the 3 things that you're grateful. The 3 things that you're grateful for. Letting them know the importance of that, because also many times more times than not, people are going to focus on what is wrong in their life instead of focusing on the things that they have to be grateful for.
Right.
And over time, like you said, the psychology of it, over time, that's going to mold a bit of your character. If you're that person who, you know what, this isn't great over here, but I'm grateful for this and this and this, that's going to keep that attitude sharp.
That's great. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Okay.
Yeah, because that's just me. Stay sharp, but let's just be real. I struggle with gratitude. I got to do it myself on a regular basis. My wife always, you're never happy. You're just always this. You're always this. And I was like, I got to work on it. It's the mindset.
It's easy to focus on what's wrong.
Always. I'm naturally gravitate towards what's wrong.
Right.
I would tell people all the time, I would on purpose to go out of my way to think someone had something against me to get myself angry to get going. I go, it's horrible. I'm like, who you talking to, man? You did it. The guy's like, no, you didn't. So anyway.
That's good. All right. Well, I think do you have any last minute things or anything that we want to wrap this up?
Anything you want to leave people with?
Yeah. What's
thoughts?
the lasting advice?
That's an advice.
That's broad too. With what we've talked about today, maybe is there something to leave the modern day baseball player with, right? That makes them just a better either person or player. Right. Is it to to be a student of the game? Is it to be a what's that kind of like Yeah.
Definitely, whatever sport you want to play, I think it means so much to be a student of the game. The more you understand about the game, the more you learn about it, the better you're going to get. Sometimes people just think they're going to get better just because they play it, but watch it. You learn so much by watching the game. And one of the biggest things that I'd like to leave. I lost the train of thought.
No worries. Okay. Take your time. You're all good.
When it comes to recognizing how bad you want something, and ask yourself, are you willing to want something that others don't have? Or are you willing to do what others won't do? And keep that frame of mind, because it's easy to do what everyone's doing, and when you do, you'll end up with what everyone else has.
That's wonderful.
So have that mindset. Really, if I want something different, I have to be willing to do what others aren't willing to do.
That's wonderful. Well, Lonell, thank you so much. We appreciate you being so generous with your time and
appreciate
sitting
it,
with
This was
us.
fun.
Good connected.
Oh, this is
good
great.
connected,
You
buddy.
guys really helped me get over it. The more I got to talking, the more comfortable I got. So this was a lot of fun.
That's
It
it.
was
Schedule
a
another one
pleasure.
for tomorrow.
Right, let's do that.
Schedule another one in an hour.
We need to maximize
Another one in an
podcasts.
hour. You're in a rhythm now, man. You got
How are
30 minutes to go get
maximizing
something to eat,
your
some
time
water.
today? Well, to leave us with
Thank you very
one
much
note
for having
from Lonell, be a student of the game.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for another episode, being with us in another episode of the Institute podcast. I'm Suzanne Wolf, along with Jesse Halberstad, Coach Manny, and
Appreciate it, guys.
Lonell again. Thank you so much.
Signing off.
Thank you.